Welcome back to my ongoing series on patching the generative Polykrell. In the last few videos, we've taken a look at the multiple sequences that I've got running, controlling a whole bunch of different parameters and modulating a whole bunch of different modulators in an effort to be able to shape some form over this patch as it performs over a period of time. And again, a reminder that I'm running it relatively quickly, just so that you can hear some of the changes as they come. The other thing that I've been doing differently than I might normally in a performance is I have the sequence from the Pittsburgh single channel 8-step sequencer set to run hard, distinct changes from its CV output. So what that means is, because it changes scale type and it changes the rates of all 5 of the Krell functions, and it's also changing the range of the quantized voltages that are driving all the notes in the whole patch, every time that it steps along with all the other sequencers to another change, and we can see that change on the Doepfer analog meter, it'll be an abrupt change. But really, in terms of what I want the piece to sound like, I normally wouldn't do that. So in the background, one of the things that I've got patched up, or that we're going to have a listen to now, is a Doepfer A171 voltage controllable slew limiter, and it's just here under my finger. So now what this is going to do is it's going to greatly slow down the CV that comes out of the Pittsburgh sequencer. So when it changes from high to low, it's going to slide very slowly, and it'll slide slow enough that we should be able to see that VU meter, which normally, because of ballistics, is a little bit tedious anyway, but we should see it sliding up and down. But what we should really hear is the effect that it has on the way that the Krell voltages all change their rates and the way that the ranges in the pitch change. Now, it's important to notice that all the other sequencers are not doing this. In the case of the 2 Klees and the 2 Doepfer channels of sequencing, they have built-in slew generators, so I'm using them. But the Z8000 sequences are all just hard set, and that's because of the nature of what they're controlling. I wouldn't necessarily need to slew them. Now our sequence has changed back to step 1, and very, very slowly that Doepfer VU is on its way up. In fact, that slew generator is so slow, it may not get there before the next change happens. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So I'm going to speed up my slew generator a little bit. So typically what I would do is I would set up that slew generator so that about 1/4 to 1/3 of the length of each of the 8 steps is taken up by this sliding. And there's another step, so we'll see it slide its way down a little bit. So we're currently listening to all 9 parts of polyphony and all 5 voices. The melody counterpart, bass voice, and the 2 telharmonics. And now we'll see that Doepfer VU slide up. It's up to its top voltage. So it gives us a sense of a musical accelerando. The piece is getting louder, it's getting faster, and the notes are getting higher. So being able to create, and there we go, right up to the top now. just going to lengthen that a little tiny bit. The next step, because it'll drop down quite a bit for this next one. So, like I was saying, being able to control a whole bunch of parameters in similar or like-minded ways. Here we go. So that's a change in scale, a change in the Krell speeds. As the notes cycle, they'll slowly drop down as that voltage through the U-scale quantizer changes. Some of the parts have dropped out because some of the sequencers have turned off some of the volume on some of the parts. Like I think the bass part is off now. And of course, there is a sequence of voltage coming from the Pittsburgh sequencer that was originally controlled by the Doepfer ribbon that is controlling the amount of gain that the melody drives into its Polaris filter before being wavefolded. Now, just in an effort to be able to have some control over the amount of melody in the mix, there is a separate voltage that's coming from, I think it's channel A. Yeah, channel A of our Doepfer A155, and that controls the overall output volume of that melody voice. So there's a lot of CV going on just to generate the melody voice, how bright and how harsh it is, how loud it is, how fast it is, the range that it plays in. So at this point in our patching, having added in all the clocking for the sequencers and adding in all the resets, because once I get so many sequences running, it's hard to manually reset them all. So I've created a whole little sub-patch that does all the resets for me to keep them in sync. And then all of their outputs, and most of their outputs are headed through attenuators and or inverters, depending on what parameters they're controlling. So this has really taken a toll on my cable situation, and I'm really running out of cables quite quickly, as I've managed to use up a bunch of them doing the background to this whole patch. So I would say I'm probably getting close to 300 cables. We were up at 250 when we were using the Doepfer ribbon controller as our form voltage. And now I'm sure that, although that didn't take too many, all of these sequences are using a whole bunch of them. So I'm probably getting close to 300 cables here on this patch so far. But that is small potatoes compared to what we're about to see. That is small potatoes compared to what we're about to see, because I'm about to reveal a whole other section to this patch that I've had running in the background, running alongside, doing something else, and that is really going to push it over the top. So I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into Polykrell patching. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to increase my number of subscribers so that YouTube will know I exist. And please consider joining my Patreon so I can afford all these cables. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.